let's make a bit of an optimization to our Sprite class. If you'll notice here in main, we have these animations, walk, swim, punch, and idle. And I don't really like having to declare them like this. Basically, I would like a way to add pretty much as many animations as I want to add. So what I want to do is have something that looks like the following. So we'll still call it add animation. We'll add an S to it. Basically, what it will do is it will take a table. We'll make it take a table. And the table will contain the key that we want, say for walk, or let's do idle. So we'll just say idle equals idle. And Love2D is smart enough to know that this is going to be our key, which will be a string value, or basically it's the key. And then this will actually refer to our animation right up here. So that way we can do the following. We can say walk equals walk, swim equals swim, and punch equals punch. So that's what I want. I want to be able to do that. And you see how that removes basically all of these lines right here. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. And if I were to run it, of course, it would give me an error because we haven't made that modification yet. So in order to do that, let's go over to the Sprite class. And let's say, where's our add animation? Let's make that add animations. And let's take a table called animations. So we'll rename this to animations. And we don't have to, but I'm going to go ahead and assert the type of animations. You know, I'm kind of doing this, I don't know, in different places. And I guess in reality, you'd probably want to do it in more places, but I'm doing it in some. I'm doing these asserts in just some what I think are key places where one could get messed up or stuck. So, you know, take it for what you want, put them in or not. It's just kind of a help to for someone to understand how they need to use the library. Like for me, if I come back to it and I've forgotten. Let's see, animations parameter must be a table. Simple enough. So what we want to do is we want to say for key comma value in pairs of animations, and we want to do something like this, but it's going to be self.animations of key equals that value. And now if we run it, we should be great. So we can come up here, we can change him to swim, and he swims. And we can make him punch afterwards. So that's something that's been bugging me. I just wanted to fix that. All right, by now you may be saying, let's make a game of some sort. Okay, why don't we try to do that? One thing though that we need is a lot of times games will have certain, you'd like to call them states, like there would be a menu state, there might be the actual gameplay state, there might be a game over state, all sorts of different states. Let's create some sort of manager to manage these, and let's call them scenes, because I like that name. Yeah, sounds like a great name. Let's come in here to lib, and let's say, let's call it a SceneManager. And we will pop into one of these others and grab the class construct here to include that module. And we'll say local, I'll call it SM for short, SceneManager, equals class, and we're going to do our standard derive, and we'll say SceneManager, and we'll return it. And that scene manager, the scene manager is gonna say, we need a function called, of course, the new function, our good friend, the new function. And what should we do here? Should we have, let's do this. Let's say that we are going to tell the scene manager what folder our scenes are in. Let's go ahead while we're at it and create a scene folder. And that actually needs to come out here. And I want it to be called scenes instead of scene. And let's just block out what we want in here. So let's create a new file. Let's say let's call it start.lua. Okay. Now what do we want in a scene? We want a function, and let's call it gosh, what should we call it? Let's call it just load. And so this function gets called when the scene is loaded. Let's think about this. And this will be this is going to be a local function. So we'll have some sort of, I'm thinking we'll have some sort of module. So we'll just say local. I'm just going to call it S, and we'll set that equal to an empty table. Then we'll return S. So basically, we're kind of making a template here, and really, let's do that. That's a good point. Let's actually make it a class, because that way we can just derive from it. So we're going to make a class, and we're going to call that class, we're going to call it a scene, because that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a scene. And we'll derive, it's class, derive. And we're going to derive, it's going to be called a scene, and what we're going to do is we're going to say new. So yeah, I'm not sure if we'll use the new function or not. Let's keep on going here, just for fun. And actually, I want to move this. I want to rename it, because this is going to be called scene. And we're going to put this in the lib directory. Okay. All right. So we're going to grab this, because we're going to create a couple of other functions. We're going to save scene, update. So we want every scene to have an update function. We want every scene to have a draw function. In addition, when we exit a scene from our scene manager, we want to say exit. Okay, and we'll have a function called enter. And I think let's go with that for now. How about that? So what should the scene manager do then? So when we new up a scene manager, the scene manager should probably take a table of scenes that we know are going to be in there. And let's say we should be able to add a scene, a specific scene if we want to the scene manager. And then in the converse, we should be able to remove a scene from the scene manager, of course. So we want to new up the thing, and we want to, let's call it, we want to be able to switch scenes with the scene manager. So, next scene. We just call it next scene. And with that in mind, our scenes need to have be aware of the scene manager. So when you new up a scene, we need we need to know who is our scene manager. So let's do this. So every scene will have in itself, it will have a scene manager. All right. Yeah, I like that. So that way each scene can control that and switch to other scenes as it needs to. Of course, this also requires the scenes to be aware of the scenes, of the other scenes. But that's fine. I don't see any problem with that. Let's also do a function. Let's say list scenes, and that'll give us all the scenes that the scene manager knows about. So let's just label these. Gives a list of all the scene names. Let's say scene names. The scene manager knows about. It's mighty nice of a scene manager to do that, eh? Okay, so this switches scenes. Let's say switches from the current scene to the next scene. And what we'll have in here is we'll say, we'll have, for one thing, we'll have self.current scene. And for now that'll be nil. And what we'll do when we switch to these scenes, we'll say if self.current scene is not equal to nil, then we're going to call a function on that scene, and we're going to call the exit function on that scene actually. So let's do self.current scene dot exit, or let's do colon. That gives it itself. Let's also, just for this might be an interesting thing to be able to go and ask for the previous scene. And I would say that these are actually going to be, let me show you. So the scenes, when we come in here and we create a scene manager, that's going to be, we'll say this. If scenes, first of all, you can create a scene manager without specifying any scenes at first, if you so desire. Why do we allow that flexibility? Because we're just nice people. That's why. Really nice. Okay, but if scenes is not equal to nil, in other words, if scenes are actually specified, then we're going to do something. Otherwise, otherwise self.scenes. Actually, we don't need to do otherwise. Let's go ahead and put that up here. So there's no else. But if the scenes variable is not nil, then let's also assert that the type of scenes is equal to table. If it's not, then we'll say parameter scenes must be a table. Come on, people. Don't you know? And if it is, then we'll say for. And it's really just going to be a list. What we're going to do is it's going to be a list. I think it's going to be a list of strings. Let's just, let's see. I equals 1 to the size of scenes. All right. So what we want to do, and that's another thing, the scene. Let's also when we new up a scene, what we want is we want the scene to have, well, I guess I'm thinking about names. And maybe the scene name will actually be the file, the name of the file. Because what we're going to do here is we'll say local m equals require scenes of I. Kind of like that. And that, what would be nice would be to be able to specify the directory that the scenes are located in. So let's add that. Let's add scene directory, just like that. I'm going to do a run real quick. Shouldn't be any differences here. Let's go to main, and I want to just include this real quick. So let's say local SceneManager is require lib.SceneManager. So then it should load the code. Okay, load the code. And let's new up a SceneManager. So we're going to test some things. Equals SceneManager, and then we'll give it the directory scenes. Let's see what happens. All right. Now let's put a scene, sort of a skeleton scene in here, and let's call it main menu. All right. And what we'll do is we'll come and grab this main menu, and we also, no, we actually don't need that. We need scene, and that's going to be require lib.scene. And what we're going to do in here is we're going to make our own we're going to make our own scene, and we'll call this main menu. So local main menu equals scene derive main menu. If I could spell it right, main menu. There we go. Okay. And let's return the main menu. So let's go back in here and let's say, remember we said this needs to be a table, so we want you to add to your scene management the main menu. And what do we have? Module main menu not found. Of course, because we need to include this scene directory in here. So let's do this. If not, basically if the scene directory is nil, then scene directory, let's just set it equal to an empty string. That way we can concatenate it here. We'll require scene directory and concatenate it with our scenes, but we'll do a dot like that. Okay, and we're back to main menu .3 local scene manager. Attempted to exit a local scene. Oh, we're in main menu, sorry. Oh, yes, of course. Scene. No, there it is. Scene. We're returning, and we're not returning scene. That's the problem. Sorry about that. Load it up. Okay, we're still swimming. That's good. That's great. It's wonderful. Now, what we should do is... Now, the question becomes, should we allow the scene manager itself to new up one of these scenes? I think we have enough control there. When we do a new, perhaps we don't construct anything, so we just basically leave this default new for each scene. And then on our enter code, that is when we actually construct and our items within that scene and whatnot. So the enter would only be called one time when that scene was first loaded. So our module here, and then what we would do is we would say we could add the self.scenes, and we'll add that key, which would be there's our string representation. So we'll add that key to the list, and that's going to equal to M. It's just going to equal to M, and then we're going to give it this, because remember, this is the scene manager. Let's see if that's okay. That's looking good. Now, the scene manager is also going to need, and we're just going to grab them from here and rename that. Scene manager is also going to need an update and an enter. I mean, not an enter, an update and a draw. So, because what's going to happen is we're basically gonna do those on the current scene. So we'll say if self.current scene, then self.current scene dot update, or colon update dt. We really don't need this nil here, do we? We don't. No, we don't. And then let's do the same here for the draw. So that'll be current scene draw, just like that. And let's go ahead and hook those in main. So SceneManager update. And we'll need to actually do a local for that variable, which we have him down here, so we're going to remove that. And a SceneManager.draw. And well, assuming this actually works, we didn't put DT in here. Let's say this main menu, let's override the draw function just to see if we actually are working here. So let's do love.graphics.print. Hello there from main menu. Hello, main menu. How are you? It's very good to see you. And let's put it at 200, 250, say. And then I don't think we need any of that. So let's load that. And we're not seeing that as of yet because we haven't switched to the scene yet. And we haven't actually implemented this scene switching. So what we need to do is do that. So we could do some checks here. We'll say if let's see, current scene.exit, and then we could say we could also say if next scene, so basically if it's not nil, we could do some more checks here. And I'm wondering if we should. We'll leave it. We'll leave it for now. We may add them later. So if next scene, then self.current equals self.scenes of next scene. Okay, so theoretically, now there's some checking that we must do there, of course, but we're not there yet. So here's our scene manager. So then we could say, scene manager, please do something for me, and switch to the main menu scene. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And we're not sure if it's working, so what we should do is we should do a little print here. Hi. And I do have debug mode enabled. It's coming off the screen here. So we're not seeing this, and so we need to come in here and check as to why we might not be seeing it. Let's make sure that we're actually getting in here. And we are, see, main menu. Okay. And are we actually getting here? And that was the other thing. Just the SceneManager was required. Oh, no, should be all right. Let's print here. Let's make sure we're getting that main menu there. Looks as though we are. Yes, so that scene is going into our self.scenes. Let's come down here and hit a view. And let's just change this letter a little bit so we can say it's a D, so we'll know which is which. We're still not getting anything, so let's go back here to main. So SceneManager, let's make sure we're doing this right. SceneManager draw, SceneManager update. Yeah. Let's see if it's even it's kind of looking like it's not even getting called, isn't it? Well, we'll get to the bottom of that. Nope, it's getting called. So that's good. So let us print well, let's print here. Let's print switch. Yep. See, we're getting switch. It's getting switched. So self.current. Oh, that's the problem. I'm ridiculous. Self.current scene. There we are. Now it should say hello there from main menu. Fantastic. Actually, from man menu. hello from man menu. I am a man. Okay. So now we have a SceneManager. We can we haven't switched between scenes yet, but we can do it. More functionality here is necessary, but let's continue to add to this. Add scene. Well, if scene, then basically if scene is not nil, then let's also check, let's assert that scene type. Let's assert that the type of scene is equal to a table, because by golly, we enjoy tables, don't we? And if it's not, because that's what it's going to be if it is indeed an actual scene, because here, let's see, do we want to be able to add just basically, yes, let's say this adds a, what would we call it? Or should we just add scenes like this? I want to add self scene directory equals scene directory up here. So just so that we can save this, because if we're going to add, yeah, let's require that to be, down here. And then we can say, we can assert that m colon is, and here's where we're going to need to include the scene library. We want to make sure that that class actually derives from scene. So we're going to say we want to make sure that that scene file is actually derived from that, because if it's not, we're going to assert. We're going to say file, and then we'll say this. And we'll also go ahead and prop a .lua on there. Is not of type scene. And, you know, again, this is the necessity of this is arguable. You can comment it out if you want to. Let me just run it again and make sure I didn't broke anything, and it doesn't look like I did. What else we want to do is let's go ahead and keep track of our previous scene, as we said that we would do. But we don't have buggers. You know, buggers. Current scene equals. So current scene. Let's not do it like this. Let's say current scene equals next scene. And then previous, previous scene, self.previous scene. We're going to make that a string instead of, we're going to make that a string instead of the actual scene. So we'll just come in here and say self scenes of, and we'll just key it this way, like this. Yeah. That way we can actually tell what the current and previous scenes are without, and I don't think that's going to slow things down too much. You know what? Come to think of it, let's go back and let's have I like the let's say this. These are strings that of the strings that are keys into the self.scene table. And then what we'll do is we'll say self.current. Say this contains the actual scene object. All right. This contains the actual scene object. Fantastic. Wonderful. We're so glad that you contain the scene object. So this contains the actual scene object. What I'm saying is we're going to do this instead of current scene. We're going to say current. So current is going to be that actual scene. And then the current scene, gosh, we're really getting some. Okay, let's call this scene name. Previous scene name and current scene name. That's a lot less ambiguous. So here this becomes self.current because we're looking for the object, and then we'll say self.current : exit. And then we're saying basically if next scene, then self.current scene name equals next scene, and then self.previous scene name equals self.current scene name. And then we also say self.current equals self.scenes of next scene. And really we need to check and see if that next scene is in. Let's do that. So if next scene, then let's assert that self.scenes, we want to make sure that scene actually is in our scene map of next scene is not equal to nil. Otherwise say unable to find scene next scene. So we're just going to assert. We'll bail. It just kills the whole program. Perfect. Perfect. I like it. I do. I like it a lot. It's great. It's fantastic. Here for list scenes, let's say get scene. Say get available scenes. Let's just do it that way. And then we can say for key, comma value in pairs of self.scenes do, and then we'll have a table, and they'll call it a local table, and it'll be scene, say scene names, and then we'll return that table, return scene names. And what scene names what we'll do here is we'll say scene names of the size of scene names plus 1 equals the key, which is going to be that scene name. So we're just going to return that. So that gets us a list of all the scene names that the SceneManager knows about. And okay, here's good. If that exists, then we call update. If this exists, then we call draw. Now, the next scene, if we see if self.current exists, then we say self.current exit. And then we say self.current equals self scenes next scene. And then we also want to do then self.current colon enter. Right? Because we have this enter. Let's put something. Oh, this is a. Oh, and something else we need to do. No, we're good. So I guess we'll put all of the scenes. Yeah, I'm not sure about the add and remove yet. The remove we can do. We can do the remove. And let's say remove scene name. So it's going to need to be a scene name, and we'll say if scene name, then we'll do some stuff. And that what we'll do is we'll go through all of the scenes, and we will say if the self.scenes of the key, I'm sorry, if the key equals the scene name that we're asking to remove, yes, then yes, well, we're going to break, and we also going to say self.scenes of the key equals nil. So that's how you get rid of it from our map. So the scene will no longer be in the map. Should we have a destroy? I mean, it's not going to hurt anything. Let's have a scene destroy, just like that. So if we want to, if our scene gets removed, yeah, then we can call a destroy on it just in case. Okay, and again, the usability of this. I mean, we may or may not use this, but we've got it if we need it. We can always comment it out if we don't. So destroy, and I guess what we want to do is if that scene name, yeah, so we should say if scene name equals self.current scene name, well then we're going to need to destroy that one too, right? To be all proper. Then we're going to have to say self.current equals nil. Yeah, so if we can actually destroy the complete scene that way. Now this one, again, not real sure about, since the way we're doing this is basically we're passing in a bunch of scenes that we want to stick in here, and we're basically saying, hey, this scene directory, I want you to have a list of all these scenes. So we may I guess we could do this a little bit differently if we want to, I suppose. We could say add a scene to the list where scene is a subclass of scene is, it needs to be an instance of a subclass of scene. So again, we'll say if scene, then, and we may never use this either, but yeah, we'll go on and stick it in here. And we want a couple of things here. We want to know that this scene should be a table, and we also want to assert that that thing, scene, is a scene. If it's not, then we'll say cannot add non-scene objects to the SceneManager. Because they're non-scene. You get it? You get it? I know, that's stupid. Otherwise, we can go ahead and add it. And what we can do is we can take the scene, and then we can actually take a scene name. So we'll just do it that way. So then we can come over here and do something like this, except it's going to be scenes of scene name equals scene. So we're going to assume that the scene is already, so we're assuming a couple things. Assuming the scene is already constructed. Okay. And let's also assert that the type of scene name is a string, which again we don't have to do this, but we will. Parameter scene name must be a string. And let's assert that scene name is not equal to, it must be filled out. Parameter scene name must be specified. Right. I'm going to run it again, make sure they've got no errors. And I do have an error at line 35. And I know where that is. See, I'm missing a parent right there. There we are. So, I mean, I think we can, I think this will work. And let's have another function. SceneManager. Should we call it pop? Pop. What that does is say if self.previous scene name. Basically, if we have a self.previous scene name, then let's call self.switch with that previous scene name. And then we're also going to say self.previous scene name equals nil. Basically, this lets us returns to the previous scene if there is one. You see what I mean? So it's not a full stack. We could make it a full stack, and we may end up doing that. But for now, we're just going to say, hey, you know, that's like for things like menus and things like that. If we want to go, hey, you know, when you're done, just pop to the next, pop off that, pop yourself off the stack, and then go to that previous scene. So that sounds really good to me. I think let's do a couple other things here then. Let's have a scene, and let's call it test, because that makes me feel good. Test, a test scene. So let's come and grab all this. And we'll come here and we'll say, and this is going to be test, test, test. And what we'll do here is we're gonna take all of our stuff from our main.lua and we're gonna stick it in here. Yeah, it's gonna be great. Stick it all in here and then we're gonna be able to switch back and forth. At least that's what we're gonna try to do. And let me go ahead and we know that we're gonna need a t.t::update. This episode is running long, I know. And what we are going to want to do here is we want Sprite and animation. We're going to take those out completely because we're going to put them in here into test, you see. So test is going to, we're going to grab all of this. We're going to grab all of this, put this into our new little scene here. And when we load it, or when we knew it, let's go ahead and say when we knew it. Yes. So when we knew up our little scene here, we can go ahead and do self.super.new SceneManager. That's not going to work. It's going to be error, attempt to call a global sprite. Oh no, a nil value. Of course it is a nil value. We're not done. We're not done. We're going to go ahead and do our creation in here. I want to go ahead and, even though we're running long on this one, I'm going to do it enter and let's print so that we can see it. Enter, test. And really that's probably all I should do, but we're gonna go for the gusto. We're gonna grab all of this stuff. So we're gonna grab all this. Let's actually leave the love.graphics here and let's go here. Grab all of that. Stick that in here. And let me just double paint it. Double paint it, ladies and gentlemen. It's all double painted. And we're going to want this. That's our little punch sound. I know we're getting tired of the little sprite guy. He's still cool though, right? Hopefully. And then we want this update stuff. We'll leave this here because that's going to be good for us. That'll be perfect. We'll grab all this. And we will remove our event-specific stuff that we don't care about. Matter of fact, over here, we'll go ahead and remove this this event stuff. Because like I said, we don't need that right now. And then let's do this. Main menu and test. So we're going to switch to test. Comment that out. We'll do that here in a minute. And we have punch. Oh, that's good. See, there's our SceneManager. So we want these two things. Oh, it's looking so wonderful. Now, if I run it, will it work? Will it work? Of course not. Not yet. Test Lua 32. 32. Oh, look. Yeah, of course. I added a joystick thing here. So let's leave that out for now. Expected near then. Of course it is, because I've got that. I had another pair in there. And attempt to index global key. Yes, because I don't have the keyboard in here. Well, I think I'm kind of thinking that the SceneManager might end up getting the keyboard himself, if that makes any sense at all. The SceneManager may be the one that, or either that or the keyboard would be a global. So, let's see, it says local. Let's make it a global for now. We'll change that later. Test, attempt to index a global key, a nil value. Okay. Test, and where is that key here? Key is hook events and key update, of course. Yes, that's an issue. An issue. I fear it's an issue of sorts. Let's see if we can just get it to come up. I want to see it just come up at first. And test. Oh, I didn't save it. I didn't save it. 39 main.lua 39. You know, pulling all this stuff, I tell you what, it's just a pain, isn't it? Are we doing the update for the Sprite? Well, of course not. We're not doing that. We've got to do that too, otherwise he won't walk, right? And Sprite 39, I didn't save it again. Gotta save those things. There we go. And let's do this. Let's say on update, let's switch scenes. That'll be cool, right? And let's see if will comma work. So we'll say if we're doing that, let's switch to the main menu. It's gonna be cool. If it works, it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be cool. And we'll end the episode because we're running out of time. We're running out of time. Comma. Wow! How about that? It works. So let's see about else if let's go back to our test scene. Test. Just like that. So if we're here, we go period or a comma, then we go period to go back. And actually I want to let's do it a little bit different. No, comma to the main menu is good. So yeah, look at that. It's working. I can go comma, period, and I can switch between scenes. That's going to be really nice, I think. Oh, and you see here, we've got our little enter. We're calling enter every time we enter back in to our test scene because I had that little print here. And what we can do is we can have an additional Boolean if we want to only have this enter be actually run once. We can do that by doing that on a per class basis. So we could have like a local is enter or entered could be set to false at first, and this could be if not entered, then you do stuff. You see what I mean? So that we could do it like this. And then we would say entered equals true. Basically, so that basically says you only call this once when we enter the test the first time. But otherwise, see, only gets called once. So that's a nice way to do that. Basically so that we can differentiate and allow the scene to do it itself. And that's about all I have today. That's a lot of stuff. We got a cool scene manager, so we can switch scenes. We're closer to getting to where we want to be, and that is some kind of game out of this stuff. So we'll see you next time.